Welcome to the Ambitious Broker Podcast, where elite real estate professionals share their secrets to success, discuss topics impacting their industry, and gain professional development insights. Enjoy today's episode. Today's guest is Rod McIntosh as a part of our Icon series here at Ambitious Broker. He's got over 40 years of experience and a 7-figure income. Let's figure out what makes Rod successful.
Rod, welcome to Ambitious Broker.
Well, thank you, Roger.
It's so good to have you here. You know, I don't want to lie to people that are watching. You and I have known each other for, 3 days now or something, right?
Career.
Your entire career in real estate.
43 years.
Yeah. And it's been a hell of a career you've had.
It's been fun.
And that's what we're here to talk about, because Ambitious Broker is a show that we've started that's designed to bring, information to people who are out there trying to make a living in real estate, and specifically ambitious people. And there's a difference between ambitious people and those who are in real estate. And so, but I thought we could start by giving just a little background. Growing up, what was growing up like? I know a little bit about it, but
Northeast San Fernando Valley, Sylmar.
Right.
Back then, it was lots of horse property. We didn't have horses, but horses across the street.
Right.
Small town atmosphere.
Right. That's where the cowboy hat come from.
Migrated there from North Hollywood. One sister and a brother.
Tell me about Dad and Mom. Dad was in insurance, wasn't he?
Dad he was a machinist for a long time, owned a machine shop.
Right.
And he went into the insurance business.
Got it.
While he owned a machine shop, that's probably where I originally got my competitiveness. He owned race cars.
Oh.
And raced at Saugus Speedway. He didn't drive. He just owned cars.
Right.
And
I used to go there.
Yeah. And it was great. I had a lot of fun out there.
Right.
My sister, on the other hand, not so much fun.
So, all right. So you're did your mom work?
No.
She didn't work. Okay.
Home.
So mom was stay-home mom. So you got all that love and attention, stuff like that. So you weren't scarred as a child, anything like that. Okay. And Dad was a pretty decent guy, machinist, and grew up. And then I'll tell you that one of the most interesting stories I remember I remember you called me up one day and you said, you were out in the valley and you said, let's have lunch. And we did at the restaurant, Chili's actually. And you said to me, I figured it out. I finally figured it out. And you said, and I said, well, what's that? And you said, well, I figured out how to get to that next step. And we're going to talk about this later, but I got to tell the story now because it's important. So I said, well, what do you mean? You says, well, I've been making around $750,000 a year, and I figured out how to get to $1 million. And I asked you, and you says, well, something to the effect of instead of making 25 calls a day, I'm now making 25 contacts a day, and that was the difference. And it was a lot more complicated than that for time. I didn't want to spit it. But the point I'm making is that even to dream about making that kind of money when you grew up in Sylmar, Dad's a machinist, very similar to my background, and you know that. So it's like, where's the dreams come from?
Where do the dreams come from? I think just from looking at the possibilities, honestly. If you look around, you can certainly see a lot of people doing a lot of great things in every industry, not just real estate.
Right.
But it was never given to them. I mean,
right.
I follow sports quite a bit. And Michael Jordan is the greatest example of somebody who went out and just practiced and worked harder in practice than he ever worked in playing a game.
Right. Some God-given talent, but added a lot of work ethic.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's your signature, I think, hasn't it? The work ethic a little bit.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Work ethic,
Right.
Don't screw around and, just get to work.
Right.
Every day.
Well, you didn't get into real estate right away. You had some work before real estate. What was that?
Oh, man, it was a great prerequisite to selling real estate. It was welding farm equipment in Utah.
Welding farm equipment in Utah.
And then I slowly migrated to welding oil research equipment in Texas. So that had nothing to do with, but I enjoyed what I did. But my father was really he left the machine shop business, went into the insurance business. And I don't even know if you know this, but his business partner was a good friend of Tommy Hopkins.
Oh, no kidding.
Because his wife worked with Tommy Hopkins. And for those of you that don't know, Tommy Hopkins was the first real big trainer in real estate in the 70s.
Right.
Worked in Simi Valley, did farming. So my dad, I was living in Utah and got laid off, moved to Texas for a year. And he said, why don't you get into the insurance business? And I said, I don't want to get in the insurance business.
Right.
And it was an epiphany. If you've ever had one, somebody told me this is what it is. And my dad said, well, why don't you think about getting into real estate? And honestly, instantaneously, I said, I can do that.
Interesting.
Never thought about it before that moment and didn't think about not doing it.
And how old were you then at that time?
I was 21 or 22.
So you started early also.
So that's how I ended up in Texas. I was with my starter wife. She was from Texas. And so I said, well, let's move to Texas because I can get a job there in literally a minute.
Right.
And so I went out there, and they were booming back in the mid-'70s in Houston, and got a job. We paid off all the debt, and then a year later we came here. And I started my career. But it was really my dad. He just said sales is a good industry to get into. If you don't want to do insurance, maybe think about getting into
real estate. Interesting. Yeah. So obviously that work had no influence. Your fixing tractors had no influence in real estate. I told you probably what you didn't want to do. Wow. See, my dad was a mechanic, and he said, no, I don't want you a mechanic. Yeah. No matter what, don't be a mechanic. Yeah. So, so when you first started in the business, then you had some connection to Hopkins, the big farmer, right? And he was influential on me too. Right. I mean, I heard, we all hear about Tom Hopkins right away when we first started. Right. And later I've got to know him, and my brother-in-law actually turns out to be best friends with the guy. So we've known each other for a long time. But he was a farmer. So did you start farming? I did.
I mean, you and I both came from the same cloth, which was Forrest E. Olson.
Right.
And you mentioned that in your first podcast.
Right.
And, you came in and I met you probably 3 or 4 weeks into the business when you were doing the training for Forrest E. Olson.
Right.
You had started a couple years before me.
Right.
And down on Victory and Woodman.
Victory Woodman, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so then that was pretty much the foundation of my business until about 87, 88. By then, I started following Mike Ferry, and who's still a very good friend of mine, and saw him a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
And he said, to make the big money, you can't just farm.
Can't just farm.
Right.
Yeah. He wasn't a farmer. He didn't promote that farming stuff.
No, he did not promote the farming stuff.
Yeah.
He said, why knock on the same door and talk to the same people? Well, it's relationship building, and now, funny, we're making a full circle. It's relationship building now.
Yeah.
It's just your farm is your phone. It's all the people you can connect with and stay in touch with.
You've done a pretty good job.
Value.
You've done a good job over the years, and I'm sorry to interrupt that, but over the years of kind of morphing to things that felt right. I mean, one of the things I know that you've done extremely well is, you still do this to me every day, but is you've been very good at accountability, and you've been very good even now and counting. You're someone who really kept track of contacts and attempts and all that stuff like that.
It's let's see, Mike Ferry was the only one that started coaching back in, I don't know, whatever it was, late 80s, early 90s. And I've been pretty much in coaching with him since 1995. So I'm in my 25th year of paying $1,000 a month for coaching.
Right.
That's a lot of money. I don't know. I'm not a do it in my head kind of.
Oh, I got that figured out right now.
Thousands of dollars, but
yeah.
At the end of the day, you've got to look at where you're sourcing your business, how many people you're talking to about real estate, what you're doing with your lead follow-up, and you just can't let it slip.
Right.
Especially now, you cannot let it slip. Yeah,
it's a daily, because time slips by so fast.
Oh yeah,
this is gone. So if you're not really on top of it like that, so you started farming and you're out there door knocking, and then did you stop farming at that time when Ferry comes along, or did he sort of
87 to, I can't remember, it's 88, 89, somewhere in there. I think it was 89. Yeah, I probably stopped farming.
Right. Just cold turkey?
Yeah, just pretty much.
Yeah.
I think we did, some mailers and stuff like that. But as far as going out and beating the same doors, I didn't. I worked my center of influence, which I'd actually pretty much started from the beginning of my career.
Right.
I kept track of my past clients and people who I knew. Although we had no computers back then, I had them in a book. I knew all my deals and when we closed. And,
right. Right.
I think my first sale was like $29,000.
Yeah.
So things have changed a little.
Mine was 14.
Yeah. So things have changed a lot. I think it's still a great business. I think there's still a lot of opportunity in our business. It's just changed. Yeah.
So why? And I don't mean to be too simplistic about this, but why were you able to succeed and so many people not succeed? Because the truth is, we see people come in and out every year. In fact, statistically, 15% of the people are coming in and out of real estate every year. And so people have been around a long time like you and I, pretty rare birds. Mm-hmm. So why? I mean, if you could put it into a handful of things, what would you say?
I think, for me, it looks like a fun business. When you go out and buy a house and you're with a great agent and you have a lot of fun and you buy and close the house, it looks really simple. And then people go, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I probably had 6 past clients get their real estate license, 6 people. I've recruited some people into the business, and the ones that work stay and the ones that don't go.
Right.
I love that expression that real estate is the industry where it's an easy business to make a little bit of money, or a hard business
to make a lot of money. Yeah, I remember that line too.
It's really true.
Yeah. So to me, knowing you, I think it's, you mentioned it earlier and you said just competitiveness. And I have that sense. I've always had that sense with you that you have a little, and did you feel it? I mean, how do you feel in this business? Do you compete against people in the business? Or are you competing against what you do all the time? Because you're a numbers guy. You track your numbers.
Both. It's both. You want to try and improve and do better every year. And obviously, we were all set for a great 2020, and we're going to finish out pretty good. But there was some real uncertainty, no question about it.
Right.
But it's one of those situations that you and I have been through. We've been through earthquakes. A couple of those,
18% interest rates, and
so it was just the same thing applied. There's a lot of agents that are stuck in shelters and are not going to go back to work, either physically, mentally, or emotionally, or all three.
Right.
And so,
it's funny. We see a little bit of that right now. We were noticing numbers of real estate sales. The actual numbers are 15% up over September, say, of 19.
100% agree.
15% up. That's the numbers this year over last year. But doesn't it feel like it's 3 times as much business?
Yeah, because you got so much more work and
multiple offers and
you've got COVID forms, and you've got people wanting pre-approvals, verification of funds.
Right.
Besides masks, gloves, and booties, just to even make an appointment to show a house.
Right.
Which
is that good though? Is that good? I've heard agents talking now about how they hope that some of this lasts. Not the PEDS so much, but as example, the pre-qualifying and stuff like that.
I like that, but verification of funds, that's a different story.
Yeah.
I hope agents don't remain rigid that you have to have a pre-approval, because sometimes you get a call and somebody's ready to go look at something and possibly buy it, and maybe there's no time to get a pre-approval to the agent.
Right.
So,
Tell me about some of the downtimes. You've gone through some health stuff on a couple of occasions,
well, Roger, he was the lucky guy with me when I had my heart attack in 2000.
Right.
What was it? 2002.
Right.
And so it's
that was a funny, non-funny story.
Yeah, that was.
You called me out to play on a softball team
Hadn't seen
when
you
we
in
could both
5
do
years,
it. Yeah,
but we stayed in touch. We were best of friends.
Yeah, and you knew I was the best softball player on the planet, so you invited me
you
out.
had just had LASIK surgery.
I just
so
had
you couldn't
LASIK.
catch a cold
I
out
could
there.
barely see.
But,
And then I don't know a person on the team, and you go out in the first inning and have a heart attack on the mound.
Yeah, so it's not that dramatic. I walked off the field.
That's
wife
true.
drove me to the fire station.
Yeah.
So
We didn't have to. No, let's make it. Let's make it more dramatic. We rushed out. We picked you up and took you to the
it was
ambulance.
just one of those things, and it shocked everybody because I wasn't overweight, didn't smoke, a lot of physical exercise,
Right.
and boom, still had a heart attack.
Right. So, tell me, at what point in time did you say, "I think I can be good at this"?
I think pretty much out of the get-go. I had
Day one.
self-confidence. I mean, I had, a lot of I didn't go to college.
Right.
So here I am getting my real estate license at 21, 22 years old, and
Right.
my friends are trying to figure out their careers, and I say I'm going into real estate, and people go, real estate? Yeah, like
Are you too young for that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
too young. And I said, well, I think I can do it, and that's all that matters,
Right.
And so I think I hooked up with the right company at the right time, and
Right.
So you Olson was growing, and we had 50 offices in the valley. And
Right. So you never had a doubt, really?
No, I really didn't have a doubt.
Really? How about once you started? I mean, I got to admit that, man, early on, there were times when I hit it right away. And the thing for me was, I remember can I sustain this? And the thing I didn't understand early on was that's where the relationship building became so important.
Right.
Otherwise you're on that, I call it the human hamster wheel, where you're running. And I still see that today with most agents, in fact, don't build that foundation. They just look for the next sale.
And that's still true today. I mean, I have friends across the country because of the Mike Ferry organization, and some of them are in very large markets where there's a lot of expired listings, and so that's all they do.
Right.
They get up every morning and they chase the expired listings. Well, we don't have that here.
Right.
So you better build relationships.
Right.
It's the farming thing. I think that's the confidence builder. If I look back and I go, okay, where did I get my confidence? I mean, I dominated
the farm
crap out of my farms.
The farm.
I mean, I had two, one in Silmar, one in San Fernando, and I'm still in touch with many of the customers I had 40 to 43 years ago.
Right.
And we're still friends, and we still talk, and that's the majority of my prospecting now. Getting back to the now question. What do I do now? Well, now I've been forced to, thank you millennials and whatever else is out there with this Facebook stuff. But, at 65 last year, I still really love the business. I still really enjoy everything that I do. But I started losing business because of the internet, because of Facebook. I mean, I would probably have 10 or 12 deals a year just off of sign calls before the internet. Well, those all vanished about 15 years ago because everybody had a computer in their hand. Then slowly, my referral business started depleting because my sphere and my age group, their kids were now graduating high school, college, and so on and so forth. And they all have friends and relatives getting their real estate license, and I'm not on Facebook. I call it that.
Facebook,
It's in the space.
Yeah.
And so last year I made a big push to, become friends on Facebook with a lot of people I've lost contact with. Probably the best story is a friend of mine leaves a message. Hi, Rod. This is Bob. You probably don't remember me, but we were in high school together in 1972. This just happened this year.
Right.
And we need to sell a house. So there is validity to it. Can you build a large, successful $1 million a year commission business off of Facebook? I don't know, because I haven't done it.
Right.
But I understand there are some people out there that I think
Well,
it's just really competitive. I think it's so competitive on Facebook. One of the reasons I got involved is because I wanted reviews.
Right.
In all honesty, it doesn't matter how good you are or how good somebody tells somebody else that's looking for an agent that I am.
Right.
At the end of the day, that person that's never met me, never spoke to me, is going to go on to the internet and they're going to Google my name. Right. And if there's no reviews there, it's like I don't do business, even though I do one of the best businesses around.
Right.
I take pride in being one of the best agents and representative for my clients.
Right.
But with no reviews,
they don't know that.
He must not do any business.
Yeah, that's right.
He has no reviews.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
So, so I made a big push to not only get into a little bit of social media, and I'm still not very good at it. I don't like it. I like this review much better than trying to make a little video for myself, but I have to do it now.
Right.
And it did make a difference. I mean, I think on my little website, we're over 300 reviews, and Zillow about 100, and we've got a lot of reviews now.
Right. Well, I think to do the kind of numbers that you've done, you have to have more than a single source of doing business anyway. Right. And you've got that foundation you can build on. But if someone's brand new in the business, they go out and start talking to friends and family and things like that. But to me, it's always been a race to the greatest number of people who can know you, like you, trust you. And today, I think you've got this.
Tommy Hopkins. I heard you say that. Know you, like you, trust you.
Know you, like you, all the time.
Totally Tommy Hopkins.
Yeah, but, it is.
I think most of the people getting in the business generally are going to be under 30, 35, 40 years old. So they do have an advantage that we didn't have when we started.
Well, they have the advantage of being familiar with that process.
With technology.
Yeah.
And, I know some tremendous agents, and they got computer science degrees.
Right.
Okay. And they're in their 30s doing, 100, 150 transactions, 200 transactions a year.
Right.
Okay. That's a lot of business for somebody who's only been in the business 10 years, 12 years.
Right.
But they're in that right demographic age group where they've got kids in soccer, and they just
yeah, exactly. And I've noticed that for a lot of people though that are new, they miss. I mean, when you and I started, we had a lot of help from our company. They pay for marketing, they pay for newspaper advertising, they paid for our signs, they paid for everything, and those days are gone. And when people enter the business new today, I find that particularly the young ones, they don't have that. They don't have the money to do a lot of that stuff themselves. And I personally feel like that's the single number one reason why we've seen this emergence of teams. It's as much because these kids don't have the financial support. They've got to go look for someone who can hand them leads, basically.
I think if somebody's new in the business, the first thing they should do is interview 2 or 3 agents to join a team.
Yeah.
I think it's a very difficult business to ever reach super success without getting proper
foundation
and guidance.
Yeah. That's the other thing too, I think is different today. We got some pretty good training. And I don't think that exists today. Yeah. You had one smaller office. How big was your office when you first started?
I think we had in Sylmar, Forrest Olson, about 20.
Yeah. And then our Sylmar office,
we had about 30.
So we were a little bigger.
Yeah,
a little bigger there. Yeah. So, when you think about whether it be Mike or anybody in your past, is there one significant, probably the most significant aha moment where you said something was said and it stuck with you forever? And
No, I mean, honestly, I look at, I've got, really great people in my life, you being one of them. Roger is the most dedicated guy to making a difference in the life of agents. And Mike Ferry is the same way. You guys are so like-minded like that. Mm-hmm. And now the company that I work for, Glenn Sanford, I see him as the same, even though I've never met him. Mm-hmm. I've watched him speak. I've seen him in person speak. He's not a good speaker. But you can hear the desire and the passion in his life to make an agent's life better.
Right.
And I think that if somebody's new in the business, that's who they need to get
connect with, yeah.
And connect with.
Tell me when someone said something to you that hold on. Yeah. That said something to you that kind of hurt your feelings. But in retrospect, you go, boy, I really needed to hear that. Was there anybody who ever said, Rod, you got to start brushing your teeth, or
we've had that question before, and you and I, and honestly, I racked my brain. I cannot think of,
Yeah, one of the things that people, the thing is that you can spar with people and you can bring stuff out. And you're kind of good at that. A lot of people aren't good at that. So there's things about them like they'll be too forceful, or they need to talk quieter. They need to just things like that really become major barriers to their moving forward in a people business. And you're more of a people guy, so you may not have done that, but I have found that it's very difficult to say some really hard things like that to people, like back off a little bit or things like that,
Well, I think Mike Ferry's harped on us for probably close to 20 years now about learning personality styles. The analytical, amiable, expressive driver. And that does make a difference. There's not even a question. When you're dealing with an analytical, you have got to do bullet points. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. And when you're dealing with a driver, you got to get to the point. And when you're dealing with an expressive, you got to let them talk. Amiables are easy. I'm an amiable. You can just roll me over. I mean,
rub your belly.
You can sell me a fart.
Hey,
I shouldn't say that.
I just said it. It's too late. Yeah. We're not going to cut it out. Yeah. As watching people, and you and I have done this, I know we've had a little conversation, but I gave you a question. The question was, and I'm going to ask you now, and that is, these new people that come in, and, some of them can be very, very, what's the right word to put? Arrogant. They come in, they're real, and then they run around, they do it. Is there ever one thing that you can think of where you just want to grab the person, shake them, smack them upside the face and say, just shut up and listen. I've got one thing I got to tell you. Two things you got to tell them. Can you think of what it might be?
I don't know. Well, the one thing I would tell a new agent now is answer your damn phone. That's the biggest frustration. You got it in your hand. I know you do because you're taking pictures or scrolling through Facebook or whatever.
Right.
But, I mean.
That was always a rule of mine, man. You got to pick up the phone and return people's phone calls and do it right away.
Yeah. So.
Don't let things roll over to the next day.
Telling an agent, I mean, you got to get serious. You got to control your time. You got to make a schedule. You got to stick to a schedule. You got to make a commitment. You got to have accountability partners. I mean, there's a gazillion different things that I've learned from Mike.
Right.
And you.
Right.
But, I've been with Mike. I've known him since 86, 87. And, I'm still with him today. And what he says is still extremely valid.
It still pays off.
It's still valid. And there's people that, I just came from Mike from the Superstar Retreat where there was only 50 of us invited because normally there's 5,000.
Right.
But he obviously couldn't do that, so he invited 50 of his, I think, good clients, that try to do the right thing. And a friend of mine comes from, if you know anybody going to Tennessee, Bernie, and you've met Bernie, I think he's going to close around 700 homes this year.
Is that right? Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Now, this is a man that, follows Mike Ferry to a T, a lot closer than I do.
Right.
Okay. Has Mike changed my life? Yeah, he's changed my life. He's made it a lot better.
Right.
I just got more complacent. Bernie didn't.
Right.
Another friend of ours that he's, I'm going to guess he's about 40 in Reading, and he's retired.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you got to have coaching. You got to have guidance. You can't do it on your own.
Right.
And you can't build your business off of Facebook.
Right.
You
got to have multiple sources of doing business.
Multiple sources.
Yeah, I mean, even with me when I started, farming was my foundation too. But I evolved into working for sub-owners, expireds, and then of course now you have some past clients. That sphere becomes important to you. Right. One of the things about us when we were young is, we didn't have that sphere, so to speak. It's like I said. I've told people, I knew some people, but no one could afford a house. That's the reason I started farming, is because everyone owned a house there. Right. It was pretty simple, But I want to talk a little bit real quickly about competitiveness, because my experience has been that people who have, guys who win, it seems like there's something inside of them that will not let them fail. And that's something you're born with, maybe a little bit, or
you can learn it.
You can learn it. Yeah. But you have it. You have it. Yeah. You don't like to look around and see people do better than you. Yeah. Yeah. Does it bug you when you lose a listing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
I have a very good friend, high producing guy, who went through a stage later actually in his career, probably 25, 30 years into it, still highly productive, making a lot of money. And he started losing sleep because he would lose deals, and he actually ended up going to a psychologist because it bothered him losing so much. Yeah. And it does sometimes.
And every now and then, I might lose a little bit of sleep over
one,
but generally not.
Yeah, you can let it roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for you.
Number next.
Tell me what's your exit plan?
The exit plan. I guess.
I mean, not that you're going to exit.
That was the most painful question always is, what's the exit plan? There isn't one at this moment.
Right.
Okay. I still enjoy what I do. So I guess when I stop enjoying it is when I'm going to figure out, okay, how am I going to leave?
Yeah. Yeah. People say
I see right now, we're going to buy that property in Oxnard, Ventura. My daughter and son.
When you leave here,
I'll have my home here, my business here. My daughter has her real estate license. My son-in-law actually had his test date. I think it was the first week of April.
Right.
So he didn't get it, obviously. But it would be nice to be able to roll this business to the family.
Right.
But I've seen a lot of husbands and wives like I work with my wife. I mean, we've been together 43 years. The smartest decision I ever made was making sure I stayed with her after.
Yeah. Well, she's definitely the brains of the family. There's no doubt.
Or tricked her into staying with me.
Right, right.
But there's a lot of husband and wives that have gotten their kids into the business, and they're able to stay fully involved really late in life.
Yeah.
I mean, because they have their kids in the business.
Right.
And so that's kind of what we're looking at right now, is get Callie and Eric back into the business. And
well, I mean, fundamentally, whether it be your kids or someone, your idea is to groom someone who can, and I think that's an important thing, but I get asked that too. It's like, I don't see quitting. I don't know about stopping.
Yeah.
Makes no sense to stop until someone makes you stop, I guess.
Well, I got two old people that still inspire me. You and Mike Ferry. Both you guys are still working. I guess if you
still
guys
old
retire,
guys,
I'm gonna have to start thinking about maybe it's time for me.
Right, right. A lot of funny stories in real estate, and I ask you to think about this one. Tell me a funny story. You can tell me two if you want.
I mean, this one just happened, and it's really kind of embarrassing on my part, but so I had to go to Antelope Valley, had sold a home in Acton. And I'm driving to the house, and there's this big snake in the road. And I go, man, that sucker's going to get run over. So I decide I'm going to stop and pick him up. And it looked like a rattlesnake, but it was a gopher snake. And so I pick him up, and I go, you know what? My clients might like this snake. I get in the car, and I'm driving with one hand, and I'm holding the snake with the other. I get to the house, and I kind of hit it behind the wall and knocked on the door, and I told him, I said, I have the most unusual housewarming gift you're ever going to see. And I hold this snake. And, of course, the 6-year-old, I think he's 6 or 7, he grabs the snake right away because they'd had pets before.
Right.
Okay.
Now, this pet's still alive. The snake's still alive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's not dead. So they're all excited. I got a family picture with them and the snake.
The snake.
And then they go into the garage to put it into a cage, and all of a sudden the little 2-year-old walks out, and he's got blood on his cheek.
Oh, no.
And apparently he got eye level with the snake. The snake bit him. And I'm wondering, oh, my God, did I just lose these clients for life?
Yeah.
And they go, he's always getting in trouble. He's there's no, and it was no big deal.
Yeah.
But that has to be, when I just started, I had a diesel Seville Cadillac. Couldn't find a gas station. We ran out of diesel, and I had to have the buyers help me push the car. To the gas station.
Yeah.
So
43 years of those stories.
Yeah.
Well, Rod, thanks, man. I appreciate you
Okay.
coming out and passing something on, and I love you.
Find a coach. We're not going to be. Here's my advice.
Okay.
If they're not coaching with you, they got to find somebody else.
Right.
But at the end of the day, they've got to have guidance. They've got to have goals. They've got to have accountability.
Right.
I mean, Mike has taught me so much. And if anybody has any questions and they reach out to you, they can reach out to me. I'll be happy to talk to them.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, just to have someone to bounce ideas off of, even if at minimum. Well, again, it was a pleasure, brother.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Raj, you're the best.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Ambitious Broker Podcast, where elite real estate professionals share their secrets to success, discuss topics impacting their industry, and gain professional development insights. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please rate it and leave a review.